South Florida, you got a world champion, man. Congratulations, Xander Zayas, getting it done tonight. He becomes the WBO super welterweight champion of the world, junior middleweight, 154 pounds, and gets it done tonight over Jorge Garcia in just a dominant, really, really impressive performance over 12 rounds. I thought there was a point in the seventh round. I thought this puppy was going to be over, and I thought that this was going to be lights out for Garcia. Credit to him, he held on, but just an absolute blowout win for Xander Zayas today. Went out there and really, I thought, just showcased a lot of his skills, those beautiful combinations that he had. I thought he had great defense tonight, and then really frustrated Garcia. A lot of tying up, maybe a little bit too much in the late rounds for the referee and the fans' liking. But I think there was an element of, hey, let's go get the world championship for sure. This has been a long journey, man, and it is great to see, good things happen in this sport to guys who work hard and work together, and to see what Javier Centeno and what Xander Zayas have done together, along with his management, my guy Peter Kahn. This long journey, remembering him when he was a young kid, 16 years old, making his pro debuts, having to go to states where it was legal to do that, and him with his his young adolescent face with his blue hair, and now to see him tonight with the slick back black with the mustache and the goatee. I'm just like, man, this is a crazy thing to see this guy grow up before our very eyes down here in the backyard of South Florida. And to see all the things that they have worked through and gone through together to get to this point. And those are just, one of the things in the sport. When you get to see things like that, it's just a really, really, really awesome feeling. And you can't help but feel proud that good things happen to guys who really put in the work like that. And Xander tonight, this has been his dream since he was a little kid, and has been training down in South Florida for his whole life in the Sweatbox gym, where at one point it was in the it was basically almost like a little attic loft apartment in a gym in Davie. Now it's moved on to have a nice, beautiful facility after some time. But man, and let me tell you something, they don't lie by the name of that thing, because it is an absolute oven in there. And to see what those guys have been able to put together in this amount of time to get him here at 22 years old is really, really cool. And now puts him in a weight class that's a lot of fun at 154 pounds. There's a lot of exciting fighters that he can go after, whether that be Virgil Ortiz, whether that, if Jerron Boots Ennis comes up. And I think the one that they want first is the Towering Inferno, who's coming off a hell of a performance over Tim Tszyu, where he made Tim Tszyu quit on the stool. That was supposed to be the fight. I mean, they were going to fight, and then all of a sudden, Sebastian Fundora is dropping his belt and going to be the co-main on the Manny Pacquiao card. And, Xander's such a nice kid. He's not one I think that's going to call anybody out for ducking, but he definitely was like, when I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, he definitely was like raising an eyebrow, and he was like, he said he had a rematch clause, but they have both fought recently, and that was just, he's just like, I thought that was a little weird, and it did seem a little bit strange, but now I honestly think it makes that clash even bigger. Strangely enough, Sebastian Fundora, born in South Florida, raised in California. He was born in West Palm Beach. Doesn't claim it as much, but I think that's an interesting crossover between both of them. But man, this kid, it's such an impressive thing, because I know when you're that touted a prospect, and it's interesting, this was the last card on ESPN for Top Rank. Top Rank's, I guess, going to move to a new platform, and he's gotten to do this on some pretty cool stages of like Heisman night, being the co-main event on some big cards. But, it had all kind of built up to, hey, last ESPN card, Top Rank, Madison Square Garden, in front of your adoring fans, to chance to win your first world championship. I just thought that was a really, really cool moment for him. And he just looked I mean, he looked like Neo in those first 7 rounds. That first 7 rounds that he gave up, I mean, it was such a great performance. And, listen, credit to Garcia. I thought that there was a couple of times he was going to go out. He comes back in that 8th round. He looks better. I think definitely there was a point you could tell Javier was telling Xander, goes, hey, it was his first 12-round fight. I think maybe they were a little leery of like gassing out, even though he didn't look anywhere close to doing that. But I think that, Xander's not always, is not one to shy away from a firefight. I mean, you could see some fights back when he was 19 years old where like he get buzzed with one and he wants to go and get 3 back. And I think sometimes you got to protect the fighter from their own instincts, especially when you're going up against a veteran of that many fights and thinking like, hey, we don't want this kid to wilt in the last round. So I think that was probably sound coaching from Javier, even though maybe it wouldn't have been the showstopper that would have maybe put him on another zip code. But there's going to be plenty of opportunities for big fights, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities now for even more big moments for Xander Zayas. And it's just really, really an awesome thing to see the growth that this kid has had, the type of maturity that he's had, from doing amateurs down here in Davie to, 4-rounders in Central Florida to mother bleeping main eventing Madison Square Garden. It's such a cool thing. And just a delightful dude, family oriented, is, just always has a bright smile on his face, but very serious about his work. Like I've had the opportunity to go into some of these sparring sessions on sparring day, and he's vicious, like you don't even recognize. And I remember like back on the come up with this guy was like doing 147-pound fights, and I'd see him and I'd be like, we're like standing eye to eye. I'm like, how are you doing this? How are you fighting at these weights? And obviously that wasn't going to stick around. And listen, there's going to be a point where he's not making 154 pounds either. There's going to be a point where he's going to be a 160-pound fighter. There's going to be a point where he's going to be a 168-pound fighter, probably. But he's very, very strong. I know that people will be like, oh, he doesn't have the dynamic one-punch power. First of all, it's a very rare thing in boxing these days. There's few guys who really have like the detonator that's really possessed anymore. It's not. Those I think things have become fewer and far between of guys who you genuinely fear that like, oh, one shot and it's over. There's not a lot of Tank Davises that are out there. There's not a lot of Deontay Wilders that are out there. This guy is just so good in every area, and I think it just makes for him that's going to be like a really, really, really tough individual to beat. And then you think about the age that he's at, that he's only going to get better to get to this ride. I think just it speaks to his hard work. It speaks to his dedication. I remember I was looking back at an old interview of him, and, he's just turned 17 years old, and he's talking about how he couldn't have birthday cake because he had to make weight. I'm just like, man, that sucks. Like this, I'm like, this kid should be celebrating, like a normal 17-year-old who doesn't want to go celebrate their birthday, have a little cake. But that's the kind of, I don't think people get the kind of dedication, not just Xander, but all these boxers, put themselves in on whether they're either going to go for Olympic dreams or they're going to go for professional world championship dreams. And it doesn't work out for everybody, but there's so much sacrifice that's involved with it. And, and it's pretty cool to see somebody, get to the mountaintop. I think Tim Bradley said it well. Like, I don't think there's anything like winning your first world championship. Maybe there'll be bigger fights. There probably will be a lot of bigger fights. You see the kind of crowd he can draw. You see the kind of backing that he has. But I think that one was definitely special for him, for Javier. For Peter, for the family, him giving the belt to his mother. I was like, that's goosies galore, dude. That's got to be a really, really awesome feeling. That's got to be such an unbelievable thing to be able to feel that you've gotten to that point. So just happy for him, man. Just happy for him. It's good to see him get to that mountaintop. Thought that, he was, he was cooking with some of those combinations, the jab, the strong body work that he was hitting with. There was a couple of like combinations in range where I was like, ooh. And I thought Garcia was going down for sure. So credit to him. I mean, like, look, that dude was was tough as nails because he took some big shots, specifically that big right hand where he like got launched into the ring. And I think that's the thing with Xander is like, I think for a guy, yeah, maybe it's not like this snap boom put you, but like, dude, he does hit hard. And I think when you have that kind of mass and you're hitting all the time and it doesn't look like he slows down and his defense just looks like it's getting better, he'll take shots. I mean, look, he certainly is had his chin tested and will take some shots, but I think there's been huge improvement there as well. So I'm excited to see where this goes for sure, and I'm excited to see where the journey goes from here. But for tonight, man, Xander, congratulations. Soak this puppy in. You deserve it. Your team deserves it. Your family deserves it. Your fans deserve it. You did a lot of people proud tonight, and I hope mostly including yourself. South Florida, world champion, and now he's the world champion. So that's just an awesome, awesome night. Congratulations to Xander Zayas.